All right, everybody, we'll get started with Jessica Pegula. Jess, first opening week here. What are you expecting out of this tournament?
Yeah, super excited to be back here in DC. I think I always love starting my summer swing here, and have a lot of great memories here. I think it's a great start to the hard court swing. So I'm excited to be here and see what happens.
Hey Jess, welcome back to Washington. I guess for top players after Wimbledon, it sometimes can feel like a little mini off-season or a break, but I guess based on what I saw on your podcast and social media, you were kind of all over the country with weddings. Did it feel like your break? And I guess how much preparation did you get in before this tournament?
Yeah, to be fair, I didn't have a lot of prep. I was traveling a lot and had a lot of other work stuff to do that wasn't just on the court, a lot of off-court stuff and a lot of commitments that I had set up. So I wasn't originally supposed to actually play here. I ended up adding it to my schedule just because I felt like, it's so close to me. It's not that far away. It's an easy tournament to play, especially before we go to Toronto and Cincy. But I went to a couple weddings, had a lot of fun, and then did a lot of work in between. So it was a busy week. Yeah, not gonna lie, my prep probably hasn't been ideal, but it is what it is. I'm excited to play.
Hi, Jess. You mentioned adding this to your summer swing here before the big 1,000 tournaments kick off. What's so important about adding this to your repertoire and kind of adding this to the mix for your routine as you get ready for those bigger tournaments?
Yeah, I think I've always played this tournament, so I'm very familiar. I'm familiar with the setup, and I have friends that also live here. So for me, it's always been just a really fun week, I think, to start the summer swing, get in a little bit of heat, even though I'm in Florida and it's actually much hotter in Florida, but get into a little bit of heat this week, get used to the balls. I think the fans here are really, really fun to play in front of as well. So I don't know, I always feel like this tournament just kind of sets my swing off on a good note. I think it's just like a good energy here, being in the nation's capital and being an American. It's always a lot of fun for me to play here. So yeah, I guess couldn't not play it this year. I thought I wasn't going to, but decided to add it back in.
Hi, Jess. Last year you competed in the inaugural U.S. Open revamped mixed doubles competition alongside Jack Draper, and they released the entry list, and I saw today that you're planning on playing with him again. Can you talk about your experience playing that and looking forward to playing that again this year? And then also, I don't know if you've seen the entry list, but are there any other teams that you hope to maybe play against? There's Arena and Novak, Rockin' Fritz again, Yala, FAA. I don't know if you've seen the entry list, but
yeah, we were just talking about it. I thought the event honestly surprised me. I think it was a really great turnout last year. I think we have such a sport that's so interesting where you can see men and women competing on the same stage, on the same playing field, and I don't think you can really do that in many other sports. So I think it's a fun way that they've been able to capitalize on that, and I think the fans, as we saw last year, were very drawn to seeing men's and women's top players playing together. They also, I think, like seeing the doubles player play against maybe someone that's more singles based. I think you just saw a lot of different storylines that the fans really, really love to embrace. And I think the U.S. Open has grown so much where people just want to see tennis. And I was lucky enough to be able to play at least, I think, 3 matches. I got to play on Ash. We got to play in front of a Ash on night with a full crowd, which was so much fun. And I got to play with Jack, which was someone that I never really spoken to much before, but ended up becoming good friends with him now, and we have a good relationship. So I thought we'd try to run it back. I know he's had a couple injuries, so we'll see how that goes. But I think especially for him, he never played a night session on Ash, so to kind of get out there and experience that maybe before that happens to him in singles was probably great for him. And it was just a fun dynamic. It was really exciting, and I think you got to see a lot more personality from the players as well. And just seeing those personalities and how they mixed and matched with the certain teams. But every team sounds really tough. You never really know. I think sometimes mix can be a little bit of luck, especially with the guys serving and the girls serving. You never know. It can be just like one break and the set's kind of over. So it's always pretty intense from the first point, and you have to be pretty focused and locked in from the get-go. But yeah, Arena and Novak sound like a pretty tough team. All of them sound pretty tough. I don't know. I wouldn't really want to play anybody. I thought even last year we had a really tough draw. So we'll see.
Hey Jess, two things. First, I'm working on a story about Daria Kisakina's wedding, actually, which I know was one of the ones you didn't go to. But I'm curious. I'm curious for you, as someone who's been to a lot of tennis weddings, maybe kind of had a tennis wedding of your own, like, and I'm assuming been to non-tennis weddings also in your life. Is there anything that makes a tennis wedding like distinctive that you can tell? Oh, I'm at a tennis player wedding.
There's usually always a tennis nod somewhere. There's always something tennis related, like even at we tied in something tennis related because that's how people know you, right? And I think at Paige and Tommy's they had like the honeydew drink as a cocktail, so I thought that was cute. Like it was a little nod to tennis. And then same thing when I went to Asia's wedding, there was something I forget, but always something a little tennis related, and not overly because I don't think anyone wants to really talk about tennis that much. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, don't forget we play tennis. I would say that's always something I notice. Yeah.
Second, the WTA is starting this genetic testing that's happening on site here. And I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that program rolling out and if you've already done yours.
Yeah, no, I haven't done mine yet. I believe it's just a cheek swab, I think. But yeah, I mean, I think the WTA is just looking to implement a new policy and kind of update something that was maybe a little bit outdated. And I guess they did a lot of research regarding where other sports and leagues, and I think also the Olympics and places like that, where they were heading with it. And they just decided to kind of expedite that with the policy that was, I think, really, hadn't been changed at all. And I think a lot of things have changed since then. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's just something that they felt like they needed to do. And so I'll just be available for testing whenever. Yeah, sorry, I can't hear.
Has there been talk about player reaction to this new requirement?
I have not heard anything from any players, but also this is kind of the first week I've been back playing. So I think, we'll see over the next couple weeks. But so far, nobody's ever mentioned anything to me.
Hi, Jess. I see you're wearing a Whoop, and I wanted to talk to you about sort of your metric tracking. Are you someone who sort of gets into the nitty-gritty of that? We're also seeing sort of Oura Ring, for example, is coming into the US Open as a sponsor. Are you someone who goes into the nitty-gritty of that as an athlete? Obviously, I'm sure those details are important to you or your team, or do you leave it mostly to your team and you're just like, I'll wear it?
No, I mean, I like wearing it. I think it kind of gives me a baseline sometimes of knowing where my body's at. I think sometimes tennis players were used to practicing, training, working out all the time, and sometimes you just don't realize, like, hey, maybe I'm a little run down today. Maybe I'm starting to get a little sick. Maybe the jet lag really hit me a lot harder, and it's really not a good time to train. I think we're so programmed to always kind of push through and train all the time, and I think it just kind of gives you a bit of a reset, at least for me, to kind of say, like, hey, okay, today I probably don't need to go extra hard, and that's okay. Like the benefit of maybe taking a rest day or going lighter is actually higher than me trying to push through and thinking that like more is always better. So for me, it's been helpful in that way. And I think too, just holding me accountable on my sleep is something. I'm kind of a night owl. I tend to kind of stay up and linger and stay up longer. And so it's kind of is a game to me where I can make sure that I'm getting, X amount of hours and stuff like that. And my coaches and trainer, I mean, it's great now that we can wear it in all of our matches. I think it just gives a good baseline of where your body's at during matches. So we don't use it all the time, but especially with my trainer, I'll definitely send if I have a really tough match. I'll send him just to see, where my heart rate was at, where my level was at for this amount of hours, and then he'll just kind of adjust maybe the next day. Okay, we don't really need to do that much. Like you got a lot of work in yesterday. So it's a helpful tool, I think, as long as you just don't overthink it, because I do think sometimes you can wake up with a bad score and you have to play a match that day. And some players I know say that they don't like wearing it because they're like, I can't see that number. Like, I don't want to see that. I thought I was feeling okay, but my score is terrible. So you just got to be okay with that part of it.
Hey, Jess, you mentioned earlier your podcast. I'm curious, now that you're a little over 50 episodes in, how would you describe the evolution from episode 1 until now? And are there any lessons that you've learned from the beginning to now as you become more immersed in the podcast world?
Oh my gosh, I'm sure we're much better now than we were at episode 1, where we didn't know what to do. I think our editor is also probably thankful that we're much better at our jobs now than we used to be. So it's been a fun learning process. I think some of us, I think we've kind of fallen into line of things we like to talk about. So, Jenny was very adamant and funny doing fan questions and any type of that type of stuff. Like, she loved being the host of that segment. I've kind of leaned into doing more tennis headlines, and then Des and Maddie kind of like doing the games. And so you don't really know that at first. You're kind of just doing random stuff. And then you kind of figure out what you're good at and what you like doing and where you feel like you can be the most helpful. So I think that's something that's been a learning process for us over, the last 50 episodes or so. I mean, we're pretty much coming up soon on our 1-year anniversary.
Hey, Jess, I watched a bit of your practice this morning. Given that you said you took some time off, just wondering how you felt on the court today, your body, and then the court. And also a frequent question from our side of the world, which is new to tennis, how tennis pros manage jet lag, like going from one continent to another, like now you came from Europe and then back, then you go to Asia.
Yeah.
So how does that work?
Oh gosh, yeah, that's hard. I felt pretty good today, actually. The last few days, I felt much better on the court. And you never know sometimes after time off how you're going to feel coming back. Sometimes you're like, ooh, this is going to be rough. It's going to take some time. And then sometimes you're like, oh, I actually feel pretty good. So I think being in Florida, it was very, very hot and humid, but having to practice in that condition and then come here where it's actually slightly cooler, I feel much better here than I did there. So it was kind of nice. I think training in the heat kind of always helps you feel better about your conditioning. And then, the jet lag it's a tricky situation. I think you try your best to get, I think, on track as quickly as possible. So for me, fighting through those first 2 days is really important, whereas maybe some people, if you're traveling, maybe it's for a vacation and you don't really have to do that and you don't care because you're like, oh, I'm going to take a nap and I'm going to eat whenever I want and sleep whenever I want. For us, I think we're just so used to not having a choice of like, oh, we need to practice the next day. Like, you have to go to practice. So it forces us to have to stay up the whole day, make sure we go to bed on time, et cetera, which I think gets us on track a bit faster. And I think also, though, too, going back to the whoop stuff, like not pushing through too much if you're not feeling great. So sometimes I think what I've changed is maybe practicing a little bit, but not overdoing it, because sometimes your body's functioning in a totally different part of the world, and you have to give it a little time to get used to it. But everyone's different. I think when you start traveling a lot, you realize how many days you need. I think now I know too, like which areas of the world I'm traveling to, my jet lag's the worst. So for me, going to the Middle East, I'm terrible. It's the worst jet lag ever. I cannot function for like 3 or 4 days. So I know, like, going there, like, that's in my head, like, okay, I need a couple days. Some other countries, it's a bit easier.
Yeah, quick follow-up to the whoop question. Was your recovery green today? And if your recovery is green, do you play better?
I have played good when my recovery is bad. For sure. Like, I don't know, like, that's what I mean. It doesn't always, like, equate. I'm sure if you ask most tennis players, they're definitely not functioning at a Grand Slam for 2 weeks, always in the green. Like, I would imagine there's probably 1 or 2 days, for whatever reason, maybe you're in the yellow, hopefully not in the red, but I've definitely played good when I'm in the red, so.